Let's go ahead and get started. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Hello, and welcome to this latest installment of the Ascendix Technologies webinar series, where we cover all things commercial real estate. I'm Wes Snow with Ascendix, and I'll be your host for this session, where I'll be joined by Jim Gillespie to discuss some of Jim's ideas on how to explode your commercial real estate business. For those of you who are first-timers to our webinars, Ascendix is a market-leading provider of both product and services to the commercial real estate sector, led by our flagship product, Ascendix CRE, a customer relationship management or CRM offering designed specifically for commercial real estate. Now, let me introduce my guest. Jim Gillespie has over 35 years of experience in commercial real estate. He's been a successful agent and manager, and he's been president of 3 different commercial real estate companies, including the AIR Commercial Real Estate Association, the predominant association for commercial real estate brokers in Southern California. In addition to his background in commercial real estate, he's a master practitioner and trainer in the fields of hypnotherapy, and neuro-linguistic programming, and he holds a PhD degree in the field of clinical hypnotherapy. Jim has been published in, interviewed by, and or written about in the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, Money Magazine, Realty Times, Broker Agent News, where he's been recognized as being their editorial contributor of the year, the California Real Estate Journal, First for Women Magazine, Commercial Investment Real Estate Magazine, and lastly, the SIOR Professional Report. In addition, Jim has recently published his brand new book titled Commercial Real Estate Power Brokers, Interviews with the Best in the Business, which has now become an Amazon #1 bestseller. Since 1998, Jim has focused full-time on coaching and training commercial real estate agents and has more than 400 articles and 70 videos he's published within our industry and has now been read and watched by tens of thousands of commercial real estate brokers. With that being said, I want to bring online my guest speaker today, Jim Gillespie. Welcome, Jim. How are you?
Hey, Wes. Great. It's a pleasure being here, and looking forward to talking to everybody for the next 30 or 45 minutes approximately.
Great. Well, Jim, as we were talking some months ago here, there just seemed to be a lot of alignment in the ideas and the philosophies that you were sharing with me. And in some cases, there was crossover with some of the world in which I live in. And, I think there were some of these ideas that I wanted to make sure that we gave a forum for, because I think that it's in a way of giving back to this community that we've invested so much in. You've got something to say about it. And so I want to just see if I can guide us through some of those topics that we surfaced up. The first of which I'll just surface now, and that is the importance of prospecting. You've got a lot to say about this topic, and I wanted to just have you unpack where you feel prospecting is in kind of the ranking of importance of things that people can do to brand themselves and really drive business.
Absolutely. And prospecting is an extremely important topic, and one reason for that is it's usually what commercial brokers rely on to develop more new business. And sometimes they're not getting their prospecting done, and that's a crusher to bringing in more new business. And I found that, if I'm standing in front of an audience and I ask the room, how many brokers here feel that you should be getting more prospecting done than you're getting done right now? I mean, almost every single hand in the room goes up, and I think the hands that don't, they've had like some severe pain stopping them from raising their arm up in front of the room. So it's extremely important, and that's why I wanted to take this first today, because we're going to talk about a number of different subjects, but most brokers are going to rely by and large on getting their prospecting done. And with that in mind, the most important thing around prospecting is just getting it done. If you get it done in a big way, things are going to happen. You're going to have great leads. You're going to be uncovering, new business that you would never have even found out about had you not been getting your prospecting done. So it's just extremely, extremely important to get it done, no matter how good you are at it on the phone right now, because getting more of it done is going to bring you in great new leads. Your ideal goal in your territory is to find every single lead that you would like to be working on when someone has a commercial real estate requirement, and finding those leads before the people are ever in a position to start determining who they're going to be hiring as their commercial broker. So, but again, so many brokers, they prospect till they get busy. Then they come up with excuses for why they can't get it done because they're so busy. And the moment of truth comes when you're busy with activity and you've still got to find a way to make sure that you're still getting your prospecting done. Because you'll be finding newer, bigger, better leads that you never would have uncovered had you dropped out your prospecting. And when you drop out your prospecting, you are almost guaranteed of having a hole in your pipeline weeks, months down the road because of the length of time it takes to close transactions from the moment that you first identify the lead. So with this in mind, I really, really recommend that you schedule your prospecting time in advance and hold it sacred and let nothing interfere with it, okay? Schedule it out, for the entire year in advance in your contact management software for the exact days and times of the week. Let's say it's Monday through Thursday from 9 to 11 or 9 to noon, and you already have it blocked out such that if anybody calls you up and says, hey, can you meet with me at 11 o'clock on Tuesday? You go, you know something, I've got something else scheduled at that time. Can we do it at noon instead? This then causes you to make prospecting your first priority instead of just allowing anybody to schedule an appointment with you at any time. Then your prospecting gets more haphazard and it's not going to get done. So create that time first in your calendar and hold it sacred, okay? And the other question is, how are you doing with your scripting and how you're feeling during your prospecting calls? Are you getting, the right type of response that you want? And if not, you may need to work on your scripting to improve it so that you're getting more effective results with your prospecting. It's something that I realized, I have sometimes residential agents knock on my door, and as soon as I answer the door, I'm quickly evaluating the idea of if I had the need to buy or sell a home right now, would I tell this agent that? Because if they don't seem professional or like somebody I'd want to work with, I would just tell them I don't have any needs right now so that I could say goodbye. Because if I told them I had a need, I'd then have to deal with them, metaphorically speaking, biting onto my arm and saying, please, please let me work with you. So your presentation style and your skills and your professionalism in your prospecting will also determine whether somebody on the other end of the phone tells you that they have a need, that they're thinking of selling it, that they need the lease. Because if they don't get a good sense for your professionalism and who you are, they will most likely feel more comfortable telling you that they're not looking to do anything. And this is why your skills need to be polished in your presentation style when you're making your calls. So you also want to, be able to overcome objections easier or move through certain situations in your prospecting calls much easier, okay? So with this in mind, I recommend that you identify those situations that you need better phrasing for or better ways of overcoming an objection or moving through to a better situation in the prospecting call. Write these situations down. Then when you got a list of them, write down what you believe would be the answer that would overcome that situation. Then rehearse it and internalize it so that you can deliver it on autopilot whenever you think it's appropriate in the future. And you can also role play your prospecting with somebody. Be on the telephone with somebody, maybe another broker in your office. Do the prospecting with them, record the conversation, and then listen to the conversation back and ask yourself, if I was a business person and being prospected by me, would I want to do business with me? And if not, work on your presentation style and your prospecting so that you make it impeccable to maximize the probability that more people are going to want to work with you. If you're interested in improving your scripting for your prospecting, I've got videos, free videos available for this, and you can find them at commercialbrokervideos.com. That takes you to a specific page on my website where I've got, basically video examples of scripting for what to say to the receptionist, to the decision maker, how to leave powerful voicemail messages that will impact people to want to call you back more when they hear your voicemail message. So I recommend if you want to work on your scripting that you go there and you watch those videos and determine the best way to tweak your own scripting so that you can be more effective with it. Also, because prospecting, usually I find the most difficult part of prospecting for people is how they resist the thought of doing it when they're not doing it. Usually once you're on the phone for 15 minutes making prospecting calls, it feels okay or pretty good, okay? It's just that thought of that little fear thing of I don't want to do this, I might get rejected. So I've recorded also, another tool that's free It's audio that I call Get Pumped Up for Prospecting. It's 4 minutes long. You can find it at commercialbrokerprospecting.com. You can listen to it there, and it's basically me talking over upbeat music, getting you pumped up and psyched up for 4 minutes so that you got much more energy and enthusiasm before you pick up the phone to make the first call. So I just want to make that available as another free tool if you may be interested in it. And again, that's at commercialbrokerprospecting.com.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. I just thought, like, I've got the technology. I know how to do this. I got all the psychology and hypnotherapy training. Why don't I just do this and make it free to the community? Because I know when I was a broker for 20 years, I wished I would have had something like this to get me pumped up before picking up the phone. So, and even while you're in the middle of doing your prospecting, if you feel you
resonated with me there,
need a little refresher, you can listen to it again for 4 minutes to get pumped up. If the last 3 phone calls have kind of beaten you down, so to speak, because that's what happens when you're prospecting.
A couple things that resonated with me there, Jim, is the time blocking. I think that's just huge, and that if you don't plan it, it's not going to happen. And that call reluctance piece there, huge. I mean, it's that scary monster in the closet that isn't really that scary once you get into the rhythm of making the phone call. So I appreciate you covering those topics there. And you know, that from a prospecting kind of your one-to-one. Let's talk about one-to-many, kind of air coverage things, and that's revolving around marketing, and some of the various ways in which brokers could or should be marketing themselves. I know you've got some takes on this, and I'd love to have you share what you shared with me at the conference there, with regards to what you feel can truly differentiate a commercial real estate broker over another.
Let me just mention before we get into that, because this is a great tool that I want to mention to people. It's a software service that's located at the website phoneburner.com, PHONE, B as in boy, URNER.com. And this is a great service because it allows you to pre-record voicemail messages that you can leave just when you hear somebody's outgoing voicemail message. You can hit a button and it'll leave a pre-recorded message just saying, hey, this is Jim Gillespie calling. I wanted to talk to you to see if you might have any commercial real estate needs at this time. I've also got a great report on what's been going on in the market for the last quarter that I'd like to get into your hands. So please give me a call back and your phone number, okay? So let's face it, 65 to 85% of the time we're leaving voicemail messages. This allows you to basically have that play, and you can hit it even when you're hearing the outgoing voicemail message instead of waiting for the tone. Then it's already got the next number dialed up for you to talk to, and it'll send out an email simultaneously when you leave a voicemail. Send out an email to the person with a follow-up message to you leaving a voicemail message, and they say it can increase your amount of phone calls you get done per hour by about 300%. So I know anything that we can do to maximize getting more calls done in a the same amount of time or shorter time. I just wanted to make sure that I bring that to brokers to check out because it's a phenomenal tool. I've listened to the recording on it. It sounds very, very good and clean. So I just wanted to mention that before we go on to the next subject that you brought up, which is, of course, doing mailing and marketing. Okay,
Jim, that was such a good tip there. Can you give for the audience the spelling of that particular source again? That'd be great.
Sure. It's phoneburner.com. PHONE, B as in boy, URNER.com.
Great.
The last time I talked with them, I think it was like around $145, $150 per month for usage, and then they've got a plan for half that amount for less usage than that. So great tool. Check it out. Watch the video on their homepage talking about how the service works.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for all of that. Let's move into that one-to-many marketing. Tell me a little bit about, or share with me what you were sharing at the conference. It's great stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because, mailing is something that very few commercial brokers really do much of. And the great thing about that is it means that the opportunity to do a great job of mailing and branding yourself in people's minds is yours to claim because most brokers don't really do much of it. And you can totally brand yourself in people's minds by mailing to them once or twice a month with good, helpful information, always including a photo of yourself so that they feel that they already know you and have a relationship with you. I know so many times as brokers, we say, but wait a second, it's those residential agents who include photos. We can't do that. And I go, it's just good marketing. They feel like they know you already, and residential agents take listings too. Should we say we can't take listings because we're commercial agents? So mail constantly to your people, okay? It brands you in their mind. Send them helpful information on what's going on. An approach that I've utilized very well with my coaching clients is having them send postcards and asking a question on one side of the postcard and providing the answer on the other side. So you could say, how do you sell your commercial property for top dollar? Okay. Or, when's the best time to get a phase 1 environmental report? Or how do you know that your tenant in your building is insured? Okay. So things like that, type of questions that will bounce in and out of people's minds. And here you are. And then on the flip side, as the expert consultant or advisor, you're providing the answer to them, and they're going over time, wow, this person asks good questions and they provide me with answers. This is probably somebody I should be working with on my next transaction. Then when you're calling them at the same time on a regular basis throughout the year, they're more likely to take your calls now because they've been getting your postcards. They like them. They see your photo. And it basically has you stand out in their minds. And unfortunately, so many commercial brokers can't get past the idea of spending money to do this. It's like, no, this is money out of my pocket, Jim. I swore a blood oath years ago that I would not spend a dime unless my company spent the money for me. And it's just brilliant marketing. I mean, you will be branded in people's minds because your competitors aren't doing this. And you can't stand out very well compared to your competitors by prospecting alone, because by the next time you call your people, they've already heard from 10 to 25 of your competitors. So how the heck could you stand out when they're talking to so many people just by the sound of your voice alone? When you combine it with mailing to your people, ideally twice a month, but at the minimum of once a month, big things can happen, okay? And just as one example I want to give around this, for everybody, this man's a good friend, somebody I've interviewed constantly and a top-producing broker. His name is Bill Gladstone. He's out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Go visit his website at billgladstone.com, BILLGLADSTONE.com. He's a top member of SIR and CCIM, and he spends $100,000 a year on mailing and marketing, okay, including publishing a quarterly magazine. And he's just a great guy, but he's gotten into the dream position that so many commercial brokers wish that they had, and that is he hasn't prospected in years because he's got so much great business coming in from his mailing and marketing, okay? Great guy. You can take a look at his mailers there. You can see his quarterly magazine there, and he's just the best marketer that I know of in the commercial real estate brokerage business. All right, so let's move on to the next subject.
Yeah. Well, just a remark on that.
Please.
If you just think about the number of emails that you receive from solicitors, it just underscores the point here versus the number of direct mail pieces that you get today. The direct mail piece has really gone out of vogue, and while that was the one thing that we stayed away from when email came in, it's now one of those nouveau things that if you start doing, you are in some unique air. And so I'll just make that point that if it's easy to do, everybody will do it. And if it's harder to do and it costs a little money, there's a barrier to entry. If you push through that barrier, you actually find yourself in a unique spot. So I echo all of those sentiments. So, all right.
And you'll make back many times the cost of the mailings. You just got to understand how to do it and know how to design the mailers in the way for maximum impact. And that's what I teach my people to do.
Yep. So, all right. We've talked about calendaring and things of this nature, and then you've got the marketing that you're doing. This is all data. You're touching people, and you're wanting to make sure that you're understanding who you've touched and when you've touched them. Tell me a little bit about your philosophies on the importance of building and maintaining a database to capture all this.
This is extremely important, okay, because if your database has holes in it, it basically means that you can't call the people missing from your database, but all of your competitors can and begin doing business with them, okay? So do you want to leave holes in your database like that? I don't think so. Why would you ever want to do that? Because you ideally want to maximize the amount of transactions that you can close in your territory with whoever is looking to do the kind of transaction that you want to work on. But if they're not in your database, how can you even find out about that, okay? So this is huge information of people, okay? So, one of the great ways to be able to put your database in great shape is if you're doing continued prospecting, by that alone, you're going to be updating the constant information of people and what's going on in the marketplace. And ideally, you want to go out there and make note of, do you have, this building or this property in your database or not? And if it's not in there, get it in there with the information, okay? And you ideally want to have, at the minimum, the company name, the contact's name, their phone number, their physical address, and their email address, okay? It's extremely, extremely important. And you want to have like a solid contact management software system for doing it, okay? I mean, I was intrigued. There's somebody I'm coaching, and on the telephone conversation yesterday, he told me that, he goes, we've got 15 commercial brokers in the office, and I'm the only one using a commercial, contact management software program designed for commercial. Really? I'm going, what are they using? He goes, I think most of them are just using Outlook. And I'm going, that's just like amazing to me right now. I mean, I got my first contact management software in 1990, and other brokers thought I was like an alien with a personal computer in the office and showing me their business cards with the rubber bands wrapped around them, going, look, Jim, this has always worked fine for me. I don't see why you need something like that, okay? And I knew someday they would get it, and clearly things have changed since then. But, if you are looking for a CRM program, okay, and, Wes is here on the call with me, and we've talked extensively, and he's got 22 years of experience in his industry, and this is a man who I know is dedicated to customer service and keeping his people happy. So I recommend that you take a test drive of their products, specifically, ideally, if you're looking for a new CRM. And again, their website is Ascendix.com, ASCENDIX.com. Take a test drive of it, see if it's for you. And if you're interested, you can even get a 30-day free trial of the software to make sure that it's the right software for you. So good.
That's excellent. Yeah, you could wind me up and we could talk the rest of the 30 minutes on that. I'm going to refrain from doing so, but just a couple thoughts here, and then we'll move on to the next topic here. I think ultimately you brought it, you're right. There's old school, and there are many that lean on and rest on the laurels of yesterday's transactions. But for those who are serious about raising their game and elevating their productivity and efficiency, they've got to find a way to lever themselves. And you don't lever yourself. Well, I guess you got a couple ways. You can go and hire people and have them do the jobs that you were doing, and that costs some money and such. Or you can effectively leverage technology and allow for a lot of the mundane and repetitive tasks and automation to lever you even more cost effectively. Take that combined with all the organizational talk that you've just mentioned, and you've really got a supercharged engine. So, again, we could spend a lot of time on that, but I'll refrain in that there are some great meaty topics that we still haven't addressed yet. So, again, marketing and such, I'm fascinated with some of the other techniques that you've used. One that I think probably surprised some people on the phone here is your take on using video, how to powerfully utilize video in your business. Talk to me a little bit about that as you were sharing. It was fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, video for commercial brokers is such a huge, huge opportunity right now, okay? And the great news is, similar to how many brokers just shun and don't like the idea of mailing, they go, well, yeah, video sounds interesting, but the feeling is maybe they'll get to it 10 years in the future, basically. And it's so inexpensive to do nowadays. All the videos that I have done that are on my website at commercial, so easy to do, realestatecoach.com. And the page within my website that I mentioned, commercialbrokervideos.com, I've done them all with an iPad, okay? I mean, iPad quality is now just a notch below broadcast television quality, okay? So you don't have to buy expensive equipment to do it nowadays. It's just so easy to do very inexpensively, and you're literally getting face-to-face time with your ideal clients and prospects, okay? So something that I recommend is doing a monthly or a quarterly video market update, just 2 to 4 minutes basically, telling people the major transactions that have gone down, what the trends are, what the rates have been per square foot, and maybe even most importantly, where you see the market heading over the next 6 months or so, because everybody wants to hear from the expert who's got the crystal ball, okay? Everybody wants to know where things are headed because there's always that uncertainty, and they guiding hand to tell them what to expect in the future, basically, okay? So you could do this, and now they're getting face-to-face time with you looking, feeling, and seeming like a network news anchor talking to them as the voice of authority in your territory. Now you're getting face-to-face time with them. If you combine this with mailing to them and doing your prospecting calls, you've got a much more active presence in people's minds than all your competitors who are just doing telephone prospecting, okay? So this can be huge. And another thing, too, is like, let's say you're interested in getting more listings. So you could record, for example, 5 2 to 4 minute videos on different subjects for owners who are about to sell their property, including the subject of how to sell your property for top dollar. So as owners are getting into the arena of knowing that they're going to be putting their property on the market, you are now giving them links to 5 different videos to look at with you speaking as the voice of authority and the expert, telling them on what they'll need to know to prepare for this sale and how to sell it for top dollar. They're going to be very interested in this. And again, you're getting face-to-face time as the expert and the voice of authority in your territory on this, okay? So clearly, only the top broker in your market would be doing these kinds of videos, and this opportunity is available to you if you step up and seize it right now, okay? So again, the website that I mentioned earlier, commercialbrokervideos.com, I've got videos on scripting, getting more listings, closing, power marketing, and the power marketing video, I give you a specific video example of how you could record that monthly or quarterly video market update and the exact kind of things that you could say in there. So if you're interested in possibly doing that, I recommend that you take a look at that video as an example, because this is a huge opportunity. And again, it hardly costs anything for you to do it. And you can just email links out to your people every month or quarter when you've got these 2 to 4 minute reports done.
Yeah. All I do is call on commercial real estate brokers all day long. And I will tell you that of all of the phone calls that I've made, there are 2, maybe 3 that have taken advantage of this. And I've remembered them. And they're very unique. So let that be something just as a anecdotal metric here, that if someone who calls on nobody but commercial real estate brokers for the last 13 years have only come across 3, if you started doing it, what's that mean to you in terms of uniquely standing out? So I'll leave that to just resonate. Let's move on to the next topic, unless, Jim, you've got other things you want to talk about on that one.
No. Let's go to the next one.
Right. So I think everybody who's ever been in sales will resonate with the fact that it's easier to sell to someone that you've sold to in the past, or a referral, than to go in and try to grab a net new relationship. And that takes some work. You earn the right for the business, and then you've got to maintain that. So tell me a little bit about your philosophies on the importance of building solid, long-term relationships as a commercial real estate broker.
Sure, because this is one arena where I feel brokers really fall short. When you get into the business, you don't have any clients or prospects, and so you're on the phone or knocking on doors trying to find new prospects. And that leads to you working on transactions and closing them and getting paid. But then usually nobody trains you on how to cultivate those relationships for more referrals and to be in there on their next transaction with you, okay? So you ideally want to become your people's broker for life from the moment you first close a transaction with them. And so this takes cultivating the relationship building aspect of this, okay? So, you really need to be the ideal person, first of all, that people will want to work with over and over again, and be someone who they'd want to refer their friends and business associates to also, okay? So a lot of times commercial brokers who have been in the business for years, they haven't been calling their past clients thinking, well, I closed that deal with them and I don't think they're looking for anything yet. You got to keep calling them just like you would be prospecting other people, touch base, see how they're doing, see how the building's working out for them. Because if you're not calling your past clients, I guarantee you, your competitors are calling them and positioning themselves much better than you to close their next transaction with them, okay? So you've got to stay in contact with them. And we talked about mailing earlier, okay? When you're mailing to these people 1 to 2 times a month, this is a great way to stay in contact with them in addition to your phone calls. And I really, really recommend that you continue giving gifts to your clients 2 to 3 times a year, because this helps to, keep that heartfelt bond going on, that there's still a relationship in place, even though they still may be years away from doing their next transaction, okay? And when you're giving gifts to your people 2 to 3 times a year, it makes it really, really difficult for them to ever work with another broker. And let me just break down quickly some demographics on this. Let's say that your average transaction with your people is $500,000, and for some of you, it's going to be $1 million or maybe many millions of dollars. But even at $500,000, let's say they do a transaction like that once every 5 years. If you gave them like 3 gifts throughout the year for $50 each, that's $150 for the year, $750 for the 5 years. And if your average commission on that $500,000 transaction, depending on the rate and whether you're splitting the commission or not, if your average commission is $15,000, $750 spent on gifts over the 5 years is a tremendous insurance policy on being in there again when it's time for the $15,000 commission transaction. It's just smart business. So again, we need to get past the idea of not spending money to make money. This is a brilliant investment that will lead to great, constant, repeat business and referrals for you also, okay? And actually, Wes, something, there's one other item that I'd like to add here that we didn't talk about here, but I think it's extremely important, okay? And this is it, okay? To me, this is the most important underlying ingredient for your success, and that is mastering your state of mind, okay? You ideally want to be walking around and living in the state of mind of being totally confident that you are just about to find another great opportunity and close it, okay? And this is a business where you've got to learn how to manage rejection and let it bounce right off you, because the top producers constantly do that. They just push the rejection aside. They get on to the next deal. The people who are struggling more, they let the rejection kind of suck the life out of them for a longer period of time. So the more that you can master your state of mind, let that rejection bounce right off you, and live in a constant state of, I'm just about to find another great transaction, and I'm going to seize it, I'm going to capitalize it, and I'm going to close on it. That's a tremendous place to be living from, and the type of place to be coming from that will maximize your productivity, make you the greatest amount of money, but not only that, have you living in the greatest, most wonderful, confident state of mind, moment to moment, that you could ever live in.
Yeah. Wow, Jim, isn't that the truth there? As salespeople, we are in the rejection business, no question about it. And we can choose to have that define our attitude, or we can define it ourselves. And I think one thing that is true for me, as is true for what you're saying, every no is one step closer to that yes. And we've got to keep that positive mental attitude. So kudos for bringing that up. That was point number 6. We got a bonus one in there. Thank you, Jim, for adding that one. That's fantastic. So, guys, this has been a great 30 minutes of what I think is deep and relevant content. And I want to again thank Jim for joining me on this webinar and sharing your thoughts and ideas with the audience here. You've shared a number of resources there. We've tried our best to reiterate those on this. We are going to have this. It's being recorded, and are going to make this available for a short while. And we'll put some links out there. But I guess the last thing that I would say for those that are online right now, you've seen and will continue to see until this signs off our contact information on the screen here. So if by chance you have any interest in following up with, Mr. Jim or Dr. Jim, as we'll put it, or myself, about any of the content that's been covered, you've got our contact information, phone number, and emails. And again, I really appreciate it, Jim. Thanks for your time. And with that said,
let me mention one other thing here, Wes. Okay. There's an audio interview that I've done with the top commercial broker that I want to make available for free to everybody. I've gotten tremendous rave reviews on this. One of my coaching clients tells me he's listened to it more than 20 times already. And this broker does a tremendous job, especially now since we're towards the end of the year and we're going to be talking about planning for next year. He does a tremendous job of showing you how to structure your brokerage business ideally to maximize your income and to minimize the feeling of getting bogged down in unproductive activities. And if you go to the homepage on my website at commercialrealestatecoach.com, there will be a box that pops up there to sign up for my e-newsletter. And if you do, you'll get a link to download and listen to that audio interview. And I just really think it's tremendous. I think you'd get great value out of it. And then, what I do with my e-newsletter basically is just, normally I send out like a 2 to 3 minute trading video once a week. And then like if I'm doing a teleconference, I'll send out an announcement for it. So If that's something you're interested in, I really, really recommend that you download and listen to that interview. And that's it. I appreciate everybody being here to listen. Wes, I thank you so much for this opportunity for you and I to do something together. And I wish everybody all the best in the future.
Yeah, it's abundantly clear to me that we'll be doing this again. I think the amount of people that registered and signed up and showed up is phenomenal. And so I think we just kind of scrape the tip of the iceberg here with topics that I think were germane for this audience. So again, thanks, Jim, for your time. Appreciate the preparation and the content. And with that said, we'll call it a wrap. Thanks for your time, everybody, and make it a great day.